You know, in the movies, when the SWAT team rolls in all slow-mo, everybody looking like action figures? Yeah, this ain't that. This is Ready or Not, and it feels real, like heart-pumping, room-clearing, try not to get your teammates smoked kind of real. And it's finally coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS on July 15th. You get 18 intense missions, solo or with your squad of 5. Clearing buildings, protecting civilians, and breaching with brains, not just bullets. This ain't run and gun, it's strategy, it's tension. It's like diffusing a situation and your childhood trauma at the same time. You can fully customize your team, armor, gear, outfits, weapons, and it's got full cross-play, so no matter what system your crew's on, y'all can roll together. Pre-order now, and they're throwing in some serious gear. The M32A1 grenade launcher, MKV pistol, and 590M shotgun. PC players, you're getting all that, plus the new Los Sueños Stories DLC, free on launch day. So if you're ready for the best tactical shooter of the year, a game that rewards brains, teamwork, and clean comms, this one's for you. Go pre-order Ready or Not now, out July 15th on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC.
What's going on, you little gentrified brain wiggers? I got allergies, bruh, and one of my eyes is a little bit shorter than the other one. Fuck it, dude. Welcome to This Past Weekend.
This past weekend.
You hear that? You hear that? That is Army of Angels. That is Army of Angels from Epidemic Sounds. And that is that's that type of music where you know, something crazy is happening in a film, you know, like they got the art and they're running out of the museum, or somebody's running through a tunnel wearing like a helmet, and they're looking for a bad guy or something like that. You know, that's where the action is, and that is called Army of Angels, and that is action music. That's the sound that plays in your head when you are late for work and you're still trying to make a smoothie really fast in the blender, you know, when you're throwing a bunch of shit in there and, getting all fucking jazzed up, and, you know, you got the banana in there and you're trying to put some peanut butter in there and some milk, and you don't have any milk, so you're fucking putting water in there, and you're eating a jacked up fucking rural New York smoothie. You know, probably has 4 grams of protein, 70 grams of sugar, and that's what you're having. And that's the kind of music that's playing in your head when those types of things are occurring, or at least that's how I feel, man. That's exactly how welcome to This Past Weekend, guys. It is Monday, and if it sounds like it's April 24th, 2017, that's because it is. It is that date. That is where we are in time. And I have allergies, bruh. I'll admit it, dude. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who, just stands around red-eyed, with snot kind of hanging out of his nose like a couple of Asian fellas or kids hanging off the side of a bicycle or something. I got allergies, dude. I'll admit it. I got them. I fall victim. I can be a tough guy, but also I can fall victim to pollen. Really put you in your place. It really puts you in your place when you think you're a badass, and then you have to sit down and really gather yourself before you sneeze because you got issues with pollen. So that's where I am. I'm in Sacramento, California. I'm actually in the kitchen of a Residence Inn motel hotellery. And if you've never been to a Residence Inn, it's a very basic but comfortable type of place. It's your, middle of the road type of motel, hotel. And I've been here this weekend in Sacramento. Sacramento, good place, I feel like, to get socks, to get new socks, and maybe to get murdered. Or not murdered, but attacked. I could see somebody just hitting you for no reason in Sacramento. It kind of seems like the kind of place where karma is prevalent. It seems karma heavy. Like at any point you could get jacked or hit by somebody, or a bird. A bird wouldn't shit on you in Sacramento, but it might come down and bite your fucking neck. Maybe a couple of blackbirds or mixed birds might fucking come down and, just slap you with their wing, or fucking rip a mole off your back with their talons. It's got that kind of edge to it. It's got like a hillbilly edgely. It's got that hillbilly edge, but also kind of a thug. Everybody looks like kind of like a mixed baby that grew up. But it's good, man. It's real people, and I love real people, man. And I think it may be the city where I ran into the most, like fans and friends, where I felt like a real connection. I mean, I just really, really relate to the people around this type of environment, man. So I had a great weekend, except for these allergies. Got daddy down. I'd rather be snotting out of my nose than out of my pecker, though. That's the old saying, I'd rather have allergies than sexually transmitted diseases and that, And no offense if somebody has those, Some of that's part of nature. Excuse me. But yeah, if you can see on the YouTubes, I'm in the kitchen right now of a Marriott Residence Inn, and I've got some new dates for you. I'm coming to Phoenix, Arizona in 2 weeks. You can come and get a look at my straight up D. Not really, but you can come and be a part of the show, man. I'd love to have you come out. That's May 5th and 6th at Stand Up Live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm really excited about that. May 25th through 28th, I'll be in Tampa, Florida at Side Splitters. June 1st through 4th, I'll be in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Improv. June 23rd and 24th, New York City. I hope to catch up on jump on the Opie show there as well. And then June 30th, we are doing a fundraiser show in Wyoming, Illinois. It's a small town. The tickets will go online this week for that. It's about an hour from Peoria, not too far from the Quad Cities. So if you're in Illinois and you want to come check that out, or you're in Iowa, come on over. It's going to be a really good time. Small town show. I'm excited about that. All right, man. Let's get into the weekend, man. It was it's been a chill one. I'm at this Residence Inn. I got into a little bit of a fracas at the pool here. They got some guys, I guess, been staying here for about a month. Some dude who's real, like, tall, like, beer belly, like, almost amazing amount of beer belly for his height. And he just talks. He knows everything. And he was grilling, bro. He's been grilling all weekend at the pool, who uses the grill at a fucking Marriott Residence Inn? I didn't even know they had a grill. And this dude's out there, he's inviting friends over. He's got they got some lady, like an older lady out there twerking, maybe about 48 years old. Blonde hair, party. Just kind of shaking her, just like not really shaking her, just kind of bending over and holding onto a table and then just shaking everything. It's one thing to kind of shake your ass and do that fancy ass work, and to really get yourself, gyrating. But it's another thing just to kind of bend over and just fucking move your whole body at once. Like, it's not the same. It almost looks like somebody's hurt or something, like they got, like their whole body is itching, but they're not allowed to scratch it or something. Like they've been, they've been told they can't scratch themselves. So they're just trying to scratch their body against the air by moving their body around. So that's kind of what this lady was doing out by the pool. And of course, you got all these fellas drinking, and this dude's fucking grilling potatoes, like, I don't know, man. I mean, I've been in some pretty gutter shit, but this dude's out there like this. Fucking know-it-all grilling patates, So I'm trying to go in there and talk to him. They were just kind of ruling the pool. I guess I got a little mouthy. But things calmed down. And it was just awkward. It's awkward to see somebody, grilling out at a residence inn. But here I am, man. Here I am. I'm in Sacramento. A lot of missing people. A lot of people here look like missing persons. I put this on Twitter yesterday, and everybody here. I kind of, I love those shows where people are missing. I've always been a fan of missing people, of buried treasure. I can't even sleep at night really unless I've seen a new episode of a show where somebody is missing or where there's a treasure that hasn't been found. I just have an obsession with that. I found some fingers in the woods when I was young. And so maybe that spurned some of that behavior. But that's always been a part of my life. I love the missing. So if you are missing, or somebody that's missing, dude, I'd love to hear about that. Or if you know somebody that went missing, we can talk about that next week. I'd love to know if you've ever been missing as well. If you are someone who went into hiding, or who decided to skip out on, a prison sentence or hide from their family or something like that. I'd love to get to, I'd love to have you call in, hit the hotline so that I could get into that and learn more about what your life has been like. We're getting close to having some guests, guys. I hope next week to have a guest. So I know I bring things up on the show that I want to do. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. It's a struggle because some of these weeks on the road keep popping up, and I'm in a fucking kitchenette. Okay, if you're on YouTube, you can see me. I'm taping this shit. I don't even have my mic stand. I have the top of it, but not the bottom. I have this thing propped up in a coffee pot that I took the top off of. So we're doing what we can. I got allergies. I just want to shoot myself in the fucking head with an EpiPen. Anyhow, 985-664-9503. If you are missing or if you know someone who has been missing, I'd love for you to call in. I remember when I was young, we were playing hide and go seek, and a boy went and hid, and they never found him. No one ever found him or heard from him. So I sometimes wonder what happened to that boy. What else, man? I read this, dude, that they had some conjoined twins. I believe they're from Mexico and now living in Connecticut. That's a real juxtaposition, I think. I don't know what that is, but that is, and they don't want to be separated. Conjoined twins refusing to be separated. And you know what? It made me feel good when I heard that. Because I'm tired sometimes of us doing whatever science kind of says we should do. The doctors tell them, well, you have a better chance of living if you separate. But, but what's their life going to be like, I look at, I'm not in this scenario, but I think it's kind of beautiful to stay in it, to stick it out. You're conjoined. You got you can high five yourself, but somebody else at the same time. There's something beautiful about that. And to know that that you're in this together through thick or thin, there's something beautiful about that. That, don't separate us. We're going to see what we can do. We're going to make it through this together. I think that's pretty beautiful, man. So that story really resonated with me. I hope they stay conjoined. I hope they stick it out. And you know what? If they go to heaven, they go to heaven together. And I think there's something beautiful about that, man. It's like when somebody gets, it's like if you had a little person that was hooked on to you and you got them cut off. I wouldn't do that. I'd say we're ride or die, This is my friend's shotgun, and we're going into life together. Thought that was interesting. Another thing in the news, I saw the Confederate monuments in New Orleans, and I know this has been happening in other cities, are being taken down. There's been a lot of issue back and forth there about these Confederate monuments. Robert E. Lee, other Confederate statues and soldiers, that it's a racist, that people feel, and predominantly black people, but also black and white people feel that it's not, that you see this leader of a Southern army and that it's racist. And I can understand the rebel flag. Like, I get that, because there are people that really associate that heavily with racism. But I'm just not a proponent of bringing down the Confederate statues, because if you're going to do that, then there's statues in New Orleans where there are like slaves. There's slaves, and it talks about when indentured servants and slaves came to New Orleans. There's some, I believe, in the Mahalia Jackson Park right there in Armstrong Park. Then I'd like to see those statues gone, because I don't want to remember that. I didn't have anything to do with slavery. I'm sorry. I think it's horrible. I wouldn't probably want to be a slave, I don't think. I mean, maybe in some instances, but not overall. But it's like, when do we just, do we just take everything away that bugs somebody? And I know that, remembering slavery isn't bugging somebody. It's bigger than that. But, I don't want to see things that remind me of negative stuff, I just feel like we're headed down this road where we're never going to get to a place where everybody's happy, I never walk down the street and am totally fired up, if we're doing that, then get rid of all my ex-girlfriends, get rid of the dude that used to make me bury his poops in the yard when I was growing up. He passed away, so that's a moot point. But at what point do we stop getting rid of just anything that bugs us? So I don't know. I don't agree with that. I agree with taking down things that really are surefire of racism. But, the South had its own army. I feel like having some tradition is okay. I just feel like, because at a certain point we're headed down a road that you're never going to be able to do it all. Let's completely erase history then, because history's always pissed somebody off. Something pisses somebody off everywhere. What else, dude? I've been thinking about the future, man. And I want people to call in, too, if they have some thoughts about this. The future, dude. And you know what I'm talking about. What's next. And it kind of spooks me out, bro. I feel like we are so... I almost dropped my phone in the pool here at the Residence Inn. And I flipped. I felt my whole body kind of seizure up. And I was like, wow, I don't really get that feeling unless it's my phone, if I saw a friend fall in the pool, I'd be like, they'll probably be okay. Not knowing if they could swim or whatever, they'll probably be all right. But when you see a phone about to go in, you're like, oh my God, it's going to die. That's what I felt like. It's going to die. As if it were more than a machine. That's what concerned me. I was like, that I thought of it as more than a machine. Anyhow, so I'm just a little bit worried about the future, man. When do we stop technology? At what point do we shut it down? When it's not when it's not helping us anymore? When is that? I can understand in some fields, in some of the medical fields and stuff like that. But when do we, self-driving cars, the trucking industry, they say, will be gone. Cross-country truckers, a lot of stepdads, probably a lot of stepdads doing that work. When does that end? Because if we allow self-driving cars, then you just have thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of men and women that are going to be out of work. I don't see the benefit there. At what point is it not helping us to be human? I feel like we're there right now. I'd love to know some of you guys' thoughts on that. I feel like we're at a spot in time where technology isn't helping us as humans anymore. It's just helping us to create basically machines and a future that has us not as really a big part of the picture. So that's where I'm at with it, man. I have a lot of concern there. You know, I also think that TVs are too clear. I'm watching this the other day. I'm trying to watch something, Dances with Wolves, you know, the movie it's about a warrior whenever he goes to, he meets a woman and somebody has, fucking wolves, I think. I can't even remember. Guys, it's 3 a.m. I'm a little bit out of it. But, bro, the movie was so clear. I felt like I was watching like home videos from Oklahoma, you know, of like a Civil War reenactment. I'm like, it didn't hold, it wasn't the same. So I just wonder if anybody else feels that way. Like, am I the only person I just think televisions are too clear? Like, I want to know that it's a story. I don't want to feel like I'm looking into like a weird window where it doesn't seem like a story. So those are just some of my thoughts on the future, man. That's where I'm at. I know I'm rambling a little bit today, guys. I'm gonna get through this. And I want to apologize too, man. I know that, you know, I've said again that there's some things I want to do with this podcast. I want to get to some other levels. I want to get some guests. And I haven't gotten to those things yet for you guys. And I want to. I had a guy this weekend at one of the shows, and he was really nice. After the shows, we were talking. I met a lot of great people here in Sacramento. Went downtown, beautiful downtown. But I met a guy, and I was like, he's saying he likes the podcast. And I said, well, thank you for listening. You know, I'm trying to figure it out and you know, trying to figure out what I'm doing sometimes. And he goes, just do what you say you're going to do. That's what he said. And at first it kind of struck me a little bit like in a strong thing to say. But then I was like, he's right, man. You know, if I'm going to connect with people and I'm going to want to share and have, you know, listeners share with me, you know, I got to do the things that I say I'm going to do. So I do want you to know that I'm making an effort, that I'm trying to get it done, that I'm trying to create, you know, good, legit content for you guys where we can, you know, move forward and learn some shit together. It's been a rocky year for me, you know, with the Native American child that could have been, that kind of sent my feelings into a whirlwind, with the electrocution, you know, with just the belittlement out there in Los Angeles being a Southern guy. You know, they don't want us. They don't want us, man. They want to take down the statues. They want to take down the humans, I feel like, a lot of times. But I'm going to try to do the things that I say I'm going to do. I've had a lot of amazing calls from you guys, and I'm going to try to get to most of them that are relevant. You know, there's one where it's a guy and his kid just talking in the car for 2.5 minutes. There's nothing there, you know. There's some where guys are making up stories. There's a couple where men are jerking off in the distance, or women that sound like men that make male jerk off sounds. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I got allergies right now. I got a lot going on today. I want to get this out to you guys. I want to get to a few questions. You can support the podcast if you want. You can go and grab the album, 30-Pound Bag of Hamster Bones. It's still out there. And what else? There's some other cool stuff on the website, theovon.com/store. All right, man, let's jump into a couple of calls right here. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? This is Chase. I'm calling from actually right outside New Orleans. That 985, you heard me?
That 985, boy, I do hear you, Chase, man. That's my neck of the woods, brother. Come across 10-4?
I was calling in reference. You asked about if anybody's having trouble about masturbation or stories about bad jobs or something like that. Well, I had this job that I actually really liked it. It was one of my favorite jobs. I was driving school bus for the parish, and
Oh, nice, dude. Now the parish, most states have counties. Louisiana, we have parishes. That's what they call it there. So it's the same thing. Damn, this dude's pretty gangster, bro. If you driving bus, bro, go on.
it was basically awesome. I saw the sunrise every morning, off every weekends, but there was this one aspect where the high school kids, like public school in, South Louisiana, you could kind of paint the picture in your head.
Oh,
but
yeah.
really all the kids were great except for this one. And I really kind of liked him and hated him because, like, he was like a really smart, sharp dude, but he would zing me.
You got zinged by the children, huh? I can relate to that, man. I can relate to school bus activities, that's for sure. Chase, when I was young, bruh, I'll tell you this story. We had a boy on our school bus who, his daddy made him a wooden shirt. And I talk about this sometime in my stand-up, but his daddy had made him a wooden shirt, a shirt out of wood. And not even teak or balsam, those are malleable woods. This boy's shirt was made out of plywood. And the daddy was an Elvis impersonator, and the daddy was an Elvis impersonator because, well, first of all, he was an alcoholic, because we only had, maybe few hundred people in our area. We didn't need a fucking Elvis, dude. We need gas money and we need ideas. Those are the top two things we need. Nobody's hiring an Elvis, and fucking half of everybody's uncle looks a little bit like Elvis anyway. So nobody's going to go just get another uncle for, whatever price he was charging. But anyway, this man had broke his leg and they set his leg in cement to fix it. Cheaper on the cheap, but when it healed up well, everybody assumed, but when they broke the cement cast off, they broke it with a hammer, ball peen hammer, and it re-broke his leg and a hip in about 2 or 3 different spots, maybe at least. So then he was really effed up. They had to set most of his lower body in the cement, except for where he could urinate out of. So, but after that, he healed up. He kind of had like this wobble in his hips, almost ironically like Elvis Presley. But anyhow, he had 3 or 4 children, and one of them was a boy. And the boy used to vomit on the bus all the time because the family didn't have a refrigerator. They only had a freezer. And he would eat ice cream, and the bus ride would shake and make him sick, and he would vomit up on the bus, doing bus vomit. And anyhow, one week I was coming home from church practice, and the dad was in the garage, and he was making his son a wooden shirt, a shirt out of wood. And I went over, and I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he was building the fucking biggest birdhouse I've ever seen, I'm thinking like, damn, this dude's trying to meet a pelican, So I go over, and I see this activity going on, and I'm looking at him, and the dad, he's like, you want to help me out? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I'm making my boy a shirt, And so I want to be helpful. I'm a young man, but I'm fired up to try and be helpful. So I try and help, but I don't know how to make a shirt. But anyhow, I came back 2 days later, and that was Christmas time. I came back on Christmas, and I held the side of this when he nailed his son into the shirt, and he made his son a beautiful, pretty beautiful wooden shirt out of plywood. So it almost looked kind of camouflage, because of the ply, because of the different, wood particles that are in there. But he wore it for a while. Some people spray painted swastikas on it on the school bus as well. And nobody had anything against Jews. People had just seen that on pamphlets, had seen the swastikas on pamphlets and stuff. And so somebody drew that, you know. We didn't even have any Jewish people in our area, even though my mother dated a Jewish man for a while. Was the first Jewish man I ever met, actually. This man, Zali was his name. Still one of the neatest names I've ever heard. But anyhow, that boy had that shirt for a while, and then some people stole it from him with crowbars and allegedly made a baby crib out of the wood. So that has kind of a sweet ending. But what I was answering there, sorry to go into that, but what I was answering was this gentleman's question here on the school bus. Let's go back to that story. I don't know how I got away from the school bus so far, but that was a strange kid that rode my bus, was that boy in the wooden shirt who used to do a lot of bus vomiting. But anyway, go on, Chase. Let's get back to you.
Every fucking day. And it started the very first day I ever picked him up. Well, he didn't skip a beat, you know, of course, smelling of weed. Steps right onto the bus. I'm a big fat dude. You got to understand this. And he looks right at me.
That's cool, man. I have some friends that are pretty fat or different types of sizes in their body. Go on. So you got the kid getting on the bus making fun of you a lot.
Oh, shit. It's Peter Griffin driving the bus. So that pretty much set the tone for the rest of that whole entire school year.
Wow, man. So that's so you got the kid getting on the bus, he's raising hell.
So I was calling to see, how would you deal with a situation like that? Or you just roll with the punches and enjoy getting zinged by a professional? So, all right, man.
Well, you know what? I mean, I'll say this: if he's quick like that, you might not want to go at him. You know, sometimes you just can't compete if somebody's zinging you. And sometimes you just need to not try and compete and just enjoy the fact that they're zinging you, bruh. You know? I mean, if he gets really mean with it, you could ask him, take him aside and be like, look, man, I think you're a funny dude. You know, respect that in him, because he probably takes a lot of pride in being funny. You know, it might be the only thing he has, you know? He might not be real smart. He might just be funny. Like, you know, when you're a funny kid, I think you take a lot of pride in that. But just ask him not to be mean. Say, look, you can make fun of whatever you want. Just, you know, if he's really gripping at you, something that's really hurting your feelings or getting into your feelings, you know, because you got to drive a bus, dude. You can't be getting bent out of shape because fucking, you know, little Terry is zinging you. And next thing you know, you're fishtailing, 50 kids around. You know, you got to keep it together. So yeah, that's what I would do, man. You know, just let him have his fun, dude. Laugh with him. If you think you got a good one, maybe go back at him. You know, maybe you could ask some of the other bus drivers what are some popular terms that they use to make fun of children. We had a man that drove us to school shirtless one time. This man named Milford, and he had a mixed boy. He had a boy that was mixed, but they tried to pretend like the boy was not mixed. So he had a boy that was half black, half white, a son, but they tried to pretend like the boy had two white parents. And I always thought that was interesting. And I also thought my vision was bad for a while because I would see him and be like, damn, my eyes aren't seeing colors correctly. I used to think that. But Chase, thanks for calling in there, dude. Sorry I went off on my own tangent. I'm at my wit's end right now, and I'm high on Claritin. I've been putting down some Claritin recently. This weekend here in Sacramento is Claritin country. Let's get into another question right here, man.
Hey, Theo, I got a unique one for you, man. We got a lot in common in the fatherhood department. My dad was 66 when I was born.
Okay, wow, his father was 66 when he was born. My father was 70 when I was born, so very similar.
And he died when I was 16.
Same here.
And right after that, a year after that, I joined the Marine Corps, got deployed, came home.
Thank you for your service, brother. Came home and
had a hard time readjusting, so I kind of went down a shitty road. I got a couple questions for you, because I think you might be the only person I've ever heard of that's got an old ass dad like mine. But how do you handle with not having that father figure to go to, and do you feel any resentment? Because I find myself having resentment towards him. Okay,
I'm going to stop it there because that's a lot right there. How did I handle not having a dad? And did I feel any resentment? The resentment, it's hard to have for me because for me, my father just wasn't really there enough to resent him. So I can resent kind of him not being there. But he just, at a certain age, there's not a lot that they can even do. So, like, he couldn't even be there in a physical capacity. I mean, my parents also got divorced when I was 7, and then I only saw my father on the weekends, but, he could only be there so much in a physical capacity. So to have a resentment towards him is really tough. Like, I do resent the situation. I resent his choice to have children when he was that old. But also, if he didn't have kids, I don't exist. So I have to be grateful for that. I have to be grateful for my own life, because if I'm not grateful for my own life, then I'm not, I'm not even taking any stock in myself. So I do have resentment towards him just for not being there, but I don't have resentment, like small resentments towards him, because once he wasn't there, there's nothing really that he could do. And because of his age, he really couldn't be there. So I guess there's some resentment there, but not like in every moment. Like, I wish my dad was here for this. I don't hold those resentments. Now, unfortunately, what I do is I put a lot of pressure on my mother. I took a lot of things out of my mother that should have been probably a father's responsibilities, but suddenly all those male responsibilities switched to my mother. And I think the same thing happens with a lot of kids that just have a mother or just have one parent. You put the pressures or your desires or your expectations of that you'd have of both parents onto one. So I did that a lot. And I feel bad about some of that, but I was a child and I was trying to survive and I didn't know. I also was blessed a lot, man. I found fatherhood in the littlest of things, man. Any adult that would even talk to me that was a male, like, I would remember things that they said, because I was just such a sponge for any older man to spend time with me or to talk to me. I had a friend, one of my best friends when I was younger was this man, Billy. And he was a homosexual gentleman, and he was a fighter. He used to do some prize fighting down there in southern Louisiana. Very fancy fella, too, and I used to run him around to buy weed and drugs and this and that. Really neat man. He used to cut his own hair as well, and so did I. And we had that in common. And he kind of became a role model for me. He was tough, but he was gentle at the same time, because he had that romantic interest in men's and in pleasure with men's. So I would see him, and he he was older than me by about 10 years. So he had a lot, or 15 years maybe. I mean, hell, he might have been nearly mildly pedophilic in some of his behaviors, but I just embraced being able to be around him, because he almost had some father-like abilities. He was tough. He cared about me because he probably might have had a light romantic interest, but he also was in touch with his feelings. So he was sentimental. So I'll say that he was tough, but he was sentimental. That's kind of what I think a lot of men desire, or young men desire in their father. So I got a little bit of that from my buddy Billy before he actually got peeled up and drove into an embankment, and he died, I think, in a cutlass. But I had another man who's still kind of like a stepfather to me today. I became friends with a kid. He invited me into his home, and then me and his stepfather became friends. And he's still a really good friend of mine today. And I value him. I love him. He took care of me for years, man. And showed me, even though I wasn't ready to take a lot of his advice and guidance, he was an example. And that's one thing that was really special to me, and still is. Another man, an older man, one time told me, my basketball coach told me to get my college diploma. He's the only man that ever said that to me outright. And that stuck with me. And he said, the reason you got to get it is because they can never take it away from you. That's what he said. And it was just a man who said that to me, but it stuck with me. So I would get inspiration from some of the strangest of places, man. And, and that's the thing. I think when you are young, if you don't have a father figure, you'll pull it out of anywhere. It can be a movie. It can be a song lyric. It can be a dream, but you are really just thirsty for that guidance or whatever you think a father would give you. And so you covet it and you'll chase it down anywhere in any male authority figures. Or I did anyway. If a man showed interest in me, even though I was still like a corny kid and I was, full of ego and thought I was cool and stuff or pretended like I thought I was cool, I still probably really valued the fact that somebody cared about me, So I would just get it here and there, man. I'd get it door to door almost if I had to. Let's get one more question here, man. Then we're gonna pop off because I'm tired and I'll get into some other good stuff and try to honor my commitments to you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. Here we go.
What's up, Theo? Hey, man, this is Luke. I just wanted to encourage you to continue to work on trying to start a family, man. I think you're a great person. You're a good human being. You have a great heart. And I don't think there's any reason on the planet that you should feel like any type of apprehension or afraid to do it, man, because I'll tell you what, I was 25.
Well, thanks for the nice words, man. I appreciate you saying some of those things, Luke. I appreciate that, man. It's nice of you to say. Onward.
About 3 years ago, and I met a girl who had a daughter, and that little girl's dad had left her and didn't want to be a part of her life, and now, I'm her dad, and she's 7 years old now and thriving and living a beautiful life, man. But, I wanted to give you this advice, Theo. The commitment you make, it's not a 100-year commitment, Theo. You just make a new commitment one day at a time. So every morning I wake up, I commit to be the best dad I can be. I commit to be the best boyfriend I can be. And that's all you can do, man. Don't look at it as a 50-year race, because that'll overwhelm you, man. Just take it a day at a time, Theo. And I thank you for this podcast, man. I love it. It encourages me to be a better person. And God bless you, Theo. Thank you, man.
Thanks, man. I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I really do appreciate the nice words, dude. That's a great way to think about it, because if I think of something in a big chunk, I can't handle it. It's the same way that I deal with staying in sobriety. So it's interesting that you say that. That if I try to think, I'm going to stay sober forever, or I'm not going to have another beer, I can't that's really tough to stomach. But if I just think, okay, today, I'm not drinking today, or I'm not going to party today, then that's easier to handle, So that's really great. That's great advice that you're offering to me, man, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate I do get some good calls where you guys are offering me guidance and thoughts and advice, and I really appreciate it. It makes me feel good that you care, because I care, man. We're out here fucking fighting, dude. Like, it is, for me, it is hard to be a man, dude. It's hard because I want to fucking still be a boy. I want to still screw around, and there's an environment and a society that caters to that. It's like, oh yeah, sex is everywhere, and this is and party, and this and that, and you can do it all, but you can't. You can't do it all. At certain ages you can, and certain times in your life, but if you're trying to grow up and move on or evolve, then you can't. And it's tough, dude. It is tough. It's tough to not want to just be a kid forever. And it's tough to realize you might have the confidence to be a parent to somebody when you still don't know if you've been parented enough as a human. If I still don't know if I've found enough father figures, to get back to that previous call. I don't know if I've still, it's tough to decide when you feel like you're the child that you were and whatever damages were there have been healed or taken care of so that you can evolve and move past that. So I think that's some of my issues sometimes. Luke, to get back to your call, I believe it was Luke. Let me check and see here.
Theo, hey man, this is Luke.
Yeah. If, it's tough. It's just tough sometimes, dude. But I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that vote of confidence. And that's a good way to look at it. And that's a good way to look at any addiction or any concern. Like, I don't have to do this for 50 years. I just have to do it for today. So I'm going to leave us with that, man. That's a great thought. That if you're worried about something, if you think, oh, I'm never going to talk to my girlfriend again, or my ex-girlfriend, or I'm never going to be able to stop drinking or stop smoking, it's too big of a task. Our brains will do that sometimes. They'll make the task so big, so unimaginably big, but it's not true. It's just today. Just today, you don't have to do it for. So I'm sharing Luke's words there. And what's funny is, man, I wish there were times in my life when if I'd have had a father figure that had come along and told me some of those things like that, simple things. I think I wouldn't have spent years, maybe even decade, spinning my wheels, not being able to figure out things or get past things because I didn't have good advice. But I would gravitate to it wherever I could get it. And I think that's what we're all doing these days. If you're a young man trying to evolve, that's what I'm trying to fucking do, dude. I'm having to deal with these rapscallions out here trying to use the grill at a damn Residence Inn. And I can barely keep my shit together. But I'm hopeful. Man. I want to thank everybody in Sacramento for coming out. I'm going to sign off for tonight, man. And I'm going to try to honor my commitments to you guys, dude. And I appreciate you guys being supportive and hitting the hotline. I'll see you guys next Sunday night, and I'll see you guys in Phoenix in person in 2 weeks. You guys be good to yourselves, man. Try that. I'm going to try it, I'm going to try and take some of you guys' wisdom this week. So thank you very much. I'll talk to y'all later on, man. Let's get out of here with a little bit of, this is called Green Sleeves Epidemic Sound. That's a little romancer right there. That is a little romancer, boy. Yeah, it's tough to decide, when you gotta be, it's tough to decide when you gotta be a leader and when you just gotta listen and be a learner. My first thought all the time is to try and be a leader, but really if I had to go back in time, I'd have been better off just being a learner a lot of times. I'd have been much better off doing it like that. But I didn't know. Sometimes you lead because you don't know what else to do. You lead out of survival, But hopefully we get to a place in our lives where we can take that breath and let go of and just be patient with ourselves and let go of the controls and learn a little bit, and we learn from each other. So that's what I'm trying to do, man. You guys be good to yourselves, man. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. You probably deserve it. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great.
Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
Oh, no!
I think Tom Hanks just butt dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
You know, in the movies, when the SWAT team rolls in all slow-mo, everybody looking like action figures? Yeah, this ain't that. This is ready or not, and it feels real, like heart-pumping, room-clearing, try not to get your teammates smoked kind of real. And it's finally coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS on July 15th. You get 18 intense missions, solo or with your squad of 5. Clearing buildings, protecting civilians, and breaching with brains, not just bullets. This ain't run and gun, it's strategy, it's tension. It's like diffusing a situation and your childhood trauma at the same time. You can fully customize your team, armor, gear, outfits, weapons, and it's got full cross-play. So no matter what system your crew's on, y'all can roll together. Pre-order now, and they're throwing in some serious gear. The M32A1 grenade launcher, MKV pistol, and 590M shotgun. PC players, you're getting all that, plus the new Los Sueños Stories DLC, free on launch day. So if you're ready for the best tactical shooter of the year, a game that rewards brains, teamwork, and clean comms, this one's for you. Go pre-order Ready or Not now, out July 15th on PlayStation, Xbox, or PC.
What's up, you little hamster wrangling scoliosis crab apple eaters? You guys ready? Huh? You ready to play a little bit of junk bump with daddy? You ready for some powdered sugar up in your butt? Ooh, diabetes. We got one of the oldest wiggers in the game coming in studio. We got a wonderful episode. We got some first-time callers talking about crotch touch, their first experience. And it's the Mother's Day aftermath. So, thank you for joining me. Welcome to This Past Weekend. This Past Weekend. Mother's Day has come and gone, and everybody's, hopefully gotten to spend some time with their mother, talk to them, had a nice conversation, or listen to them. I find as I get older, it's about just listening to my mother. You know, I just want to make sure that she's okay, and that she's trying, she's not worrying. I think those are things that start to help me the most. I spoke to my mother today. I sent her some flowers, actually, from Bloom That. You might have heard that we'd been advertising for them. I sent some flowers to her from there, and she has a husband who has Alzheimer's, and so he don't do much. He was in the war. He was in maybe a couple wars. I think maybe I want to say possibly the Korean War. He's got some issues with some Asians. I do know that. Doesn't make him a bad person. They had issues with him as well, I'm sure, during the war. So, but he don't do much. He likes to put on mittens or gloves, and he likes to take them off. So that's one of his hobbies these days. A couple times he would break out of the house and go get himself a little can of liquor or can of beer. And he would have that somewhere being sneaky, and my mother would have to go find him. So that's kind of what he's up to. And he have Alzheimer's. So it was nice to speak to my mother and just make sure she was okay. She enjoyed her flowers, and the flowers came with some caramels, different, fancy brown candies, but nice ones that melt in your mouth and make you feel, make your face make your whole mouth feel kind of almost naughty a little bit, salty and sweet and kind of just nasty a little bit, also good and beautiful. So she enjoyed those, I'm pretty sure. And we had a nice time, man. I'm at the age now where it's not about holding any grudges against my mother. It's about finding solutions if I do have issues. We're more and more a little bit able to talk about things. And it's just about kind of just letting her know that I love her, I feel like when I think about it, and I'm sorry, welcome to this past weekend, man. I'm just talking out of the blue, I hear, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope your Mother's Days were beautiful. I hope I saw a lot of pictures on Instagram of people's mothers. I liked as many as I could. And it was, but I spoke to my mom and I just want her to be happy. That's all I want. When I was young, I thought I was a daddy's boy, or a dad's boy, whatever it's called. I can't remember. Daddy's boy sounds almost like, somebody that's being hired as like a male escort or something, maybe out in Scottsdale or in Palm Springs. So I'm not that. I just thought my dad wasn't around, so I thought I was I just wanted to be that. Because when you're young, you want to be whatever you're not, kind of. You want to be the, you want to raise hell. You want to cause ruckus. So I thought I was a daddy's boy. But I wasn't, man. As I get older, I realize that I'm just, I just want my mother to be happy. And I just, I'm like my mother in a lot of ways. Some good and some bad. But I'm more of a mama's boy. And it took me a long time to realize that. But now I'm realizing it now. But yeah, it's at a certain point you can't hold grudges anymore. If I'm still holding grudges against my mother, I'm 37 years old, and something's wrong, then it's my issue. It's not our issue anymore. It's my issue. So I have to figure out what's going on. If I am, come to terms with it and get out of it, because life is short and our lives are short. And I just want my mother to be happy. When I think about it, we had a little bit of a tough spell over growing up, and I was pretty blessed, man. I found a bunch of different mothers that took me into their families and into their homes, and made me feel like a regular kid, and loved me and helped me out as much as possible. I got emancipated at 14, and I spent time living with friends and families, and I've just been eternally, when I really think about it, blessed by the grace that people showed me. I mean, I have been shown more joy more grace and more, I've been helped. So it's amazing to me that a mother, that they can extend beyond their own children when they have a lot of those qualities. And it's pretty fascinating. But these days, I talk to my mother and I just want her to be happy, and sometimes she just talks and I don't know what she's talking about. I just try to listen and be a quiet listener, try to be supportive. But she got some tulips. That's what I sent, and I hope she enjoyed them. I'm going to jump off that conversation right now. Or actually, I guess when I think about my mother even more, I didn't always treat my mother very good. That's one thing I realize as I get older. I wasn't a good son. I have some responsibilities as a son. I've talked about this before, but, I rejected my mother a lot of times. I wasn't like a proud son a lot of times. I was just uncomfortable, and I was just selfish. And I know I was a child, and you have a right to be selfish as a child because you have to have your needs met when you're a young child. But as you get older, you can just be being selfish. If all you're concerned about is getting your needs met, then at a certain point there's a lot of selfishness there, and I was that a lot of times, and I rejected my mother, because we didn't have any money sometimes, and I rejected her maybe because she didn't. My mother was a hard worker, still is, and she didn't take care of herself that much, or she didn't care about beauty. She didn't care about looking fancy or putting on makeup or anything, but that made me feel, like she just didn't care about putting on airs for anyone. She was a very real woman. And at the time when I was young, I guess I wanted her to put on airs. I wanted, that idea of a mom that you see. Like on the televisions, on Leave It to Beavers and stuff like that, different shows, regular shows, Roseanne, but more of a thin Roseanne. So, I rejected my mother a lot, and I feel bad about some of those things. But I'm old, but now one of the blessings I still have my mom is that I'm able to discuss those things with her and get into them. And, it's never too late to apologize. It doesn't have to be a special phone call that you make to your mom. It doesn't have to be on Mother's Day. It can be on any Monday like today. If you got something to say, just get it out of your heart and get it out of your soul and get it into your mother's ears. There's no place better for a son's concerns, I don't think, than their mother's ears. Even if she's not going to give you the response you want, I think there's just something about a son or a daughter saying something to their mother, and just putting it on them that is innately comforting to us. And I put a lot of pressure on my mom growing up. It was just her. And when you're a child like that, and it's just your mother, you naturally look to your mother for whatever your father's supposed to give you as well. And so it can give you put, ridiculous, unachievable desires and expectations on your mother because you are looking for a complete circle of parenting, and there's no way your mother can give it all to you because she can't be a man. She can't be, two parents. So there's all. So I have a lot of, I'll probably have some resentments or, some amends to make in that category too. Once I figure out what expectations I put on my mother that I probably was supposed to put on a father, but they weren't there because that's not my mother's responsibility. That's my father's responsibility who wasn't around. But anyway, I'm not trying to bring everybody down. I started shit off bad. What the fuck, Theo? I don't know, man. We got a good episode, dude. I got the oldest wigger in the game coming in, Mr. Raja Rod. I've been a fan of this man for a long time, and I've seen him here and there, and you guys are going to be excited. We got some great calls that came in from some listeners. I want to do a special episode this week, I think, hopefully, just about, I think it's going to be about manhood and what that means. We've had a lot of calls about it, and thank you so much for calling and hitting the hotline. That number is 985-664-9503. We got people calling in about the first time they touched some crotch and sharing those experiences. And I know it's a weird thing on a Mother's After Day special to get into that, but we're going to get into that. Some of those crotch calls and take some crotch callers. So, wanna be a baller, crotch caller. So I was fascinated by that. I think because crotch and touch, boy, touching crotch when you're young, it is like a dam. It's like somebody just, it's like the first time you ever see one of those babies that could hear for the first time on those videos. It's like, this magic baby, they put headphones on this magic baby. And, baby could see for the first time. Baby gets retinas repaired for the first time. When I see that, that's what it is like. For a man, it is anyway. The first time you down there touching some, we'll say cooter, to keep things comfortable here on this Mother's Day special. We'll say cooter. The first time you're seeing some cooter, you really are touching some. It's like that first time. It's just like one of those videos on Facebook where, dog hears its owner. Dog hears its owner for the first time. Dog sees its cousin for the first time. It's like one of those, it's one of those, man. It's that magical moment where it's like this area that you can, and there's so much heat. That's what I remember about that crotch heat, bro. It was, God, it was like somebody had just put a furnace inside of, a woman's pants. I mean, it was just like, you ever get those mitten packets that keep your hands warm if you do skiing or you do outdoor work in the Kodiak or in the cold weather, you know, or if your freezer doesn't have a door, your refrigerator doesn't have a door, and your kitchen gets really cold because you don't have it, ways to close them up, and you have to use those freezer packets, you know. And I'm sure that's probably erroneous. A lot of people don't have that. I had a friend who didn't have any freezer door or refrigerator door. Someone had stolen the doors to their appliance, many of their appliances actually, and so the cold would always be coming out, and so they'd have to wear extra shirts and stuff. But you have this, they have these hand warmers you can get, and man, it was like the first time you put your hand down by a girl's crotch. That's kind of what occurred, I felt like. But we're going to get into some of those calls, and we're going to get to our guest. We're going to get to it. I'm going to tell you what else this past weekend. Not much, man. You know, to be honest with you, I probably had like, I think 16 comedy sets at the different clubs. I hung out with Howie Mandel for a little bit, and it was nice actually. Howie's always been really nice to me. He's a charming man, and we had a good time. I got to see him and his wife. She's a lovely lady. We had a nice time, man. Howie's funny, and he's got a great heart. If you ever see celebrities on TV, you don't know what some of them are like, that's fine. But you can know this about Howie Mandel. He may seem bizarre, you know, and maybe his humor is for you or isn't for you. That's not to be judged. I mean, you can judge it, that's fine, but don't doubt that he's a nice man. He's a very nice man. He's just a good guy. What else happened, dude? I felt better. I appreciate it. I got a lot of calls from people this week, seeing how I was feeling, and I feel a little bit better. Some of that was just being off the road and being able to be at home and enjoy my environment, man. My plants were dying. I got 2 plants, and they were dying, and so it was just felt a little bit better. I took a walk today. So I'm going to drop these dates on you guys right now, and then we're going to get into our guest. He's going to be here in studio, and then we're going to get some calls, man. These are some of my favorite calls. I'm really, really excited about this. Next weekend, the 25th through 28th, I'll be at Tampa at the Side Splitters Comedy Club, and then I'll be in Pittsburgh June 1st through June 4th, okay? And then I will be at Gotham in New York City, June 23rd through June 24th in New York City, New York. They call it the same thing to piss you off right there. And then I'm in Wyoming, Illinois, and that's about an hour from the Quad Cities in Iowa. It's a small town at the Paramount Theater, and those tickets are available on theovon.com. I also have a new album that came out. It's of my early stuff. Now, if you picked up an album at my show, it might be the same material. So I'm just letting you know that if you want to check the material before you purchase it. But it's Musket Fire, The Early Years of Satire, and that's available now on iTunes. It's a lot of the stuff from the Netflix special. So it's not material that is similar. It's not the same material from the Netflix special, but it's similar material. And it's on sale now. Then I'll be, where else? I'll be at the Improv in Orlando. I think we moved those dates to July 13th through 16th. Also, you can grab 30-pound bag of hamster bones, which is still on sale. And theovon.com/store is where you can get most things, T-shirts as well. All right, we got a guest in. I'm excited for him. It's late here, guys. Honestly, it's 1 a.m. here on Pacific Standard coastal time. This past weekend. All right, happy to have him here today, man. Thank you so much for joining me. What I want to say, one of the realest and oldest Wiggas in the game, Mr. Roger Rod.
Appreciate that, and it's really a pleasure to work with you, Theo. You have a tremendous reputation, and I can see why.
I appreciate that, man. What do you feel like when I say the term Wigger?
Actually, from what I understand of your background, you wouldn't qualify because you actually did assimilate and were accepted with the black culture because they were in your neighborhood. It was about a half and half, as you said.
Yeah,
and
I
you
grew
were
up in half black, half white. We've been discussing this before we jumped on the air. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to me, a wigger is the white kid that lives in Beverly Hills with his mom and dad bought him the Hummer. He has the gold chains and he sings Living in the Projects and it's Get Back to Bel Air, Josh.
Right.
That's pretty much the way I see it.
Okay. So that is more of an accurate description of a wigger where you're from.
From the perception of the way I hear blacks use that term wigger.
Okay.
And of course, I've used the joke many times around them. Listen, okay, wigger, that's for us, all right? We like wigga. Now,
Yeah.
wigga is
Wigga.
okay, but wigger, we put the on the end, now we're going to fight.
Right. Now that's an issue.
Yeah, okay.
So do you feel like that's a term that's accepted in the black community, wigga?
It's very derogatory, really. They look at it like you're trying to bite our style.
Oh, really?
You're stealing from us, and we don't accept you, so don't act like we do.
Wow.
It's just you listen to the music, you wear the clothes, but you're not one of us, so stop trying to act like you are.
I see.
Which is where you don't fit because you actually were.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I grew up in an environment where, I was in a group called Niggas for Life for a while when I was young. And I'm not saying that made me black, or it was just a group of friends that I felt comfortable around.
Right.
You know, we all had it was all single parent families. We're all poor. We're all out on our bikes screwing around every day. And I didn't feel really accepted by like a lot of like the redneck culture. And that was a lot around me. So the only other poor culture around me was black culture. So, you know, you had to kind of fit in somewhere. So I tried to fit in there. And a lot of times I felt like I did, you know, and then a lot of times I felt like I didn't.
There really isn't any way you can ever cross over into that line to total acceptance. There is a lot more of a line between tolerance and acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And it's very understandable because I think we all have a certain preconceived notion and acceptance when we see the same skin color we have.
Yeah.
That we identify with this because we live the same life with this color all the time. It's not that we socialize and interact with. This is who we are all the time and we can't change it.
Right.
And that's what I do on stage particularly. I'm not going to plug my act, but I make fun of everybody else's culture because that's really what makes us different. That and what you always mention is the big equalizer, which is money.
Yeah.
If you're poor, it doesn't matter where you are. There's a really brilliant comic that I run into that makes the point of poverty is really what has everybody sectioned off the way they do. Like everyone has the ability to live on some kind of government assistance, but if you're black, you live in the hood with other black people. You could live with the same money in a trailer park, but you're thinking, I may be poor, but I ain't that fucking poor that I'm living with those guys. And the trailer park people the same way. Hey, look, I may be on Section 8 here, but I ain't living in there with them people, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not going to make that poor choice then also live outside of my culture.
Absolutely.
Like if I'm destitute or if I'm very poor, I'm not going to live outside of my culture.
You're going to still congregate with the people that share your skin color.
Right. That's interesting, man. I got to ask, what happened in your life that made you realize you were so popular with the black community? Because I don't know another comedian. I'll say this. I don't know another comedian that's your age. I don't even know your age, but I know you're older than me.
Yeah. That's kind. Thank you.
And I don't even know many that are my age that are able to perform for black audiences and fit in with black audiences like you do. What made you realize that was an audience that was for you?
There were a few things. Some of them were based upon the business here in Los Angeles. Some of them were largely associated with football because I played on a lot of all-black teams.
Okay.
And I very much was comfortable with them and had a whole different idea than most white people do about when you really go to war with these guys, you see who they really are, and all of the things you hear about how bad they are just disappear. They're your brothers. You'll die for them.
Right.
And then there's the other thing. When I first started dabbling in black clubs, I saw like a 60-minute show. And the guy that was talking said something about white people are terrified to talk about race. And with black people, race is everything. And the first thing I thought of was, well, I'm not afraid to talk about race. And there's some kind of a vibe about me that I'm not trying to make myself out to be something mystical, but there's some kind of a vibe in the way I carry myself that black people look at me and they say, he doesn't hate us. He isn't afraid of us. He just seems like he's comfortable here, and they pick up on that. And
Right.
I've always felt that way because I give that off because that is the way I feel. I'm not afraid of them. I don't hate them, and I'm comfortable there.
Yeah. All right. So, Roger, I got to ask, are you black or white?
I would have to say I'm white on the outside and multicolored inside.
Okay. Multicolor. And what colors are we going to see in there if we were to crack you open?
It'd crack me open. I probably bleed red, but a lot of me still identifies with black a lot. I do. I don't think I'm black. I don't try to act black, but I very much appreciate that culture. There's parts of it I don't like, but the major portion of it, what I love most about it, is the indomitable spirit. They refuse to be unhappy no matter how many times or ways they get fucked culturally. They always see the upside.
You know, it's interesting because I sometimes feel like, sometimes I'm like, do black people even feel bad? Like, do they even feel sad, you know? Like, because black people are always pretty upbeat or level. And sometimes and maybe I've mistooken it as that black people do they not have those feelings?
I would say, without even knowing what the statistics are, I bet if you looked at them, they've probably got the lowest suicide rate. I have to think so. They always find a reason to keep trying, keep fighting, something to be happy about.
Wow.
Something to see an upside with. Most positive culture. I remember when I first started playing black clubs, it was at a really low point in my life. I'd gone through a bad romance. I was more poverty-stricken than I'd ever been. My career didn't seem to be going anywhere, and I'm playing in black clubs. And I'm in these really low income neighborhoods, and I'm being as kind as I can, and seeing comics that I knew were living in cars and living in very poor conditions, and they would get on stage and say something like, I woke up today, the sun hit my face, it's a beautiful thing to be alive. And I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with me? That if this guy can see life that way, where did I go wrong? What's so bad about my life?
Wow.
Real positivity.
Yeah.
And you play football with them, and you really get it. They're your brothers. And the other thing I noticed on the football scene is that you would get on these 14-hour bus drives we sometimes had to take, and the white guys would all be sitting around bored, shitless, maybe reading a book, but most of the time just staring at the front seat. And the blacks are in back playing dominoes and playing spades and cards, yucking it up, laughing it up, high-fiving. They always were fucking having more fun than we were, and I started hanging around with them.
Yeah. Yeah, why do black people have more fun than white people? Because like the most fun sometimes white people, it seemed like white people would be like, you know, like, ooh, ooh, you know, like I'm having a good time, you know, but like black people will really, like, you know, if they're having a good time.
And they usually are. They can get a big kick out of a very small thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's really funny culturally is some of the times something that you and I would say to each other if we were just kind of exchanging insults in a friendly way, that it wouldn't be anything particularly funny, but it's something their culture's never heard. And like I called this guy, you snot-nosed little bitch, and that just killed him. You snot-nosed little bitch. They'd never heard a man call another man a snot-nosed little bitch. And it's not, but now some of the names that they come up with that you and I never heard it, you roll on the floor. It's where the fuck did you put that combination of words together?
Now, a lot of white guys are afraid to make love to black women because I feel like, because black women, they fuck back, I feel like, you know? Like, white women, it seems like you kind of fuck them, you know? But black women, it really seems like they fuck back, you know? Like, they got that real attack pussy at times. Do you ever feel like that?
Well, you've been with black girls growing up where you did, I'm sure.
No. I was with one black girl who had, like, some crazy mirrors on her ceiling stuff out here. Mm-hmm. And that may have been the only one I can't remember at this moment.
The culture in general is very aggressive in the way that they do the flirting and the dating game. It's very different than ours. Very, very different. I mean, they're just very aggressive, male and female. If they want you, they'll let you know, and they'll make it very clear you're stepping over the line, or you're very welcome. Come on board.
Right.
It's a very demonstrative thing, once again. That's the way they are.
Yeah.
Culture. I mean, when I say they, I hate to say that like them, all them people. I'm not.
No, but look, we're talking about black and white
culture. We're talking
culture.
about a culture. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's been my experience. That when a sister wants to get with you, there's no guesswork. She'll let you know.
Wow.
She'll definitely let you know.
And do you have any tips for like a white guy who's trying to get with some sisters out there, or really trying to, you know, test, some of the black women and see if they have a chance with some? Do you have any guidance there?
It depends on what you're trying to get with. If you're just trying to get laid, all you need is a lot of money. That would probably work and spend a lot of money.
Because that's for any women.
That's for any woman. That's the ultimate equalizer. If you're looking to kind of fit in, the first thing that you want to do is just be real. Be you. That's going to work best. Be real. If you try to act black, there couldn't be a bigger turnoff.
Yeah. Why is it that I feel like a lot of the younger black comics now couldn't make it in a black room?
Younger black comics, you mean such as the ones you see in a mainstream club?
Yeah.
Because they've geared their act towards a white audience. They've geared their act to cross over to a white audience and done material that is very different from the culture that they come from most of the time. Or they're suburb blacks that are more comfortable in the white culture because they're not familiar with the hood.
Right.
That's often the case as well. A suburb black has almost as much disconnect to the black culture as you and I do.
Why is it hard even like, I mean, I grew up in like a white hood, you know, I mean, it was, you know, we shared, you know, we're right next to the poor black neighborhood was the poor white neighborhood. I mean, we all rode the same school buses together. Why is it that it's hard to let go of the hood for people? Do you feel like even if they transcend class or environment, why does like the hood like stick to you? Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
I surely do, and it is a phenomenon that's very difficult for us to understand. It's something that I think there's a part of it that they like the idea that this is something I rose up from, and the friends that I have left behind are now my entourage and my fan club and the people that I know that I can trust to have the most connection towards. Like Biggie, when he was at his apex, a lot of times he said he found himself daydreaming about what was going on in the hood. And here's a guy living in penthouse, private jet level wealth, and he was wondering, what are the homies doing on the streets?
Yeah.
And that's just something that is a very difficult thing to disconnect from.
Yeah, and I guess because maybe life's so real out there. Like, you know, I felt like even in our neighborhood, life was very real for us because we all spent time together outdoors, you know, like there wasn't anything going on indoors except like fighting, you know, we couldn't run the air conditioner. So it was like, it wasn't even comfortable to be indoors. So everybody was outdoors, and that's where, you know, you just got acclimated in your environment. You were really in your environment.
Right.
You know, you didn't just meet up for like play dates like kids do now and stuff like that. I mean,
play dates.
We spent our lives outdoors.
Absolutely. And that's one thing you don't see that much of anymore, particularly in white culture. I mean, could you imagine probably in the home you grew up in that on a nice, bright, sunshiny day, you're sitting on the couch playing with your Xbox? My mom and dad would have said, get the fuck outside and go play.
Yeah.
You're not sitting around on that thing all day.
Yeah. No, yeah, would have been, or given us a set amount of time, but then it's time to go.
Then it's time to go, exactly.
Yeah, you guys need to get outside. And didn't even really keep tabs. I think now everybody's just scared of like kidnappers, you know, like I was talking about, and pedophiles of attacking children, you know, and stuff like that. But to not even enjoy years of playing outside because of maybe one pedophile, that seems intense to me, you know?
And it really is a sad thing that we have come to that, such as now we're living in a culture that has swung once again with that pendulum too far in one direction, where you'll see a parent smack their kid in the ass in a grocery market, and then 15 minutes later, Child Protective Services is at their front door, and they're child abusers. That was not part of our lives growing up.
No.
And the kind of thing about walking to and from school at the age of, say, 6 years old. A 6-year-old kid walking to and from school by himself right now, the police are going to show up.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to harass the parents. That's some kind of child endangerment. Christ, we did it all the time. That was just part of it.
Now, I notice sometimes my tone of voice will change when I'm around black people, you know, if I'm around certain black people. Some black people it won't. And maybe that's just nature of just acclimating to an environment. What do you think about that? Because I know this happens a lot with white people and black people.
As long as it's not overdone, it's something that I look at it that I get a little jargony. Because when I'm around Latinos, I speak a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah, I'll even pull on a Latino accent, a Mexican accent, or a Spanish accent.
When I'm around, when anyone that you're around, if you're around a bunch of blue bloods, you're going to change your whole style.
Yeah.
All you have to really do to change your entire personality is put on a fucking suit sometime and walk out the door and immediately have a different attitude.
Yeah.
And a whole different demeanor about you.
Yeah, you feel like shit, dude. I might have a job.
Yeah. We're all things to all people. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you don't overdo it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there like a kind of like what's a good starter kit for a kid these days who wants to kind of, wig up a little and get into black culture? What's a good starter kit kind of? Like what does he need to know? Like what's some guidance?
Is remember he's white and don't try to act black. There couldn't be a bigger turnoff.
Right. Remember you're white and don't try to act black.
And don't try to act black. Don't try to come with the jargon. Don't try to, what's up, yo, what's up, son? I'm saying something. Stop all that shit.
Yeah.
They can see right through it. They can see right
that's
through
Seth Green. That's like something Seth Green would do.
It's like a bad impersonation of Seth Green.
Yeah. And what else? Like when it comes to like attire or anything like that, cologne, like is there any sort of, any, what else do you need to know? Like what else do you have to, do you have to have? Attitude. What about an attitude?
Be real. Be real. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Be real. Don't be afraid. And that's the one thing that look a brother right in the face and say, what's up? That'll get you miles.
Yeah.
Because they're expecting you to stare at the ground. They're expecting you to kiss their ass. They're expecting you to giggle at everything they say. Just what's up? Talk to them. Be a person.
Just be real.
Yeah, just be real. Just be you. That always works. Blacks love real. They love real. You know what else they respect? Balls. Balls. I have said some things on stage I cannot believe I said, and it was one of those, I don't believe you said that, but it was funny type of laughs, and I got out of there alive just fine.
Yeah.
But I've said some incredibly racy, edgy things. But again, one more of the thing is, and believe me, I'm not trying to come off like I'm the great me, but I am known to the other white comics when they come into the club and they see what I do and they're newer and they're trying to cross over and they see what I do and they think, oh, that's it. All you have to do is be really edgy and be really over the, You got to know where the lines are, and I found them out the hard way just like anybody else has to.
That's the urban update right there from the white side.
From the white guy, yes.
The bridge to Terra, the bridge to Blackabethia. That's kind of what you are a little bit for us, man. Because you've been out there. You're learning, man. Learning
is the best way to put it. Part of the culture, absolutely not. I always say the same thing to the newer white comics when they come into the club. This is what you need to remember. Act like you're a guest in somebody's home, because you are. Because when these black comics go to the mainstream clubs, they get treated like shit. So don't act like you have some entitlement to be on the stage. Act like you're a guest in someone's home.
It's interesting. I think that's a great thing to remember for almost no matter where we are, But especially, culturally, we still have to remember that there's, even though we're all Americans, that there's a lot of cultural differences,
Gigantic at all. And to say the other thing is that we all, when people say the term that we're all racist, I don't believe in that, because again, I've said for the umpteenth time, there's one race, the human race.
Yeah.
But I think we all are guilty of prejudice, those of us that are going to be honest. Prejudice, the root of which is prejudge. We all see somebody of a different culture and prejudge them in some way or another, consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
For example, you're on a plane, somebody walks in with a turban. What do you think?
A turban of what?
Meaning that they walk in with a burqa. They walk in with a scarf.
Headpiece.
Yeah, you walk in with
something.
I
don't know what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, but you see somebody that's clearly from the Middle East. What's the first thing you're thinking?
Oh, yeah, they're probably hiding jewels or something.
They got a bomb, or this guy is Haji that's going to hijack the plane with a razor blade, or who knows what. But you're not thinking, and I certainly have prejudgings towards people that aren't necessarily non-white skin. I prejudge the Russian culture quite a bit. I do that now.
Oh, yeah, I do everyone. I stereotype everyone for sure. I stereotype. I'm a stereotypist. I mean, I'd be a stenographer, I mean, I do. And some of the stereotypes are good and accurate because it gives you healthy ways to approach people. But yeah, when I guess going to a place of judgment sometimes can be, it can be dangerous because you might not get, you might not get the full opportunity out of an opportunity.
What it does is it'll make you a better person. Just like I think we've discussed anything, I won't say anything out of school, but we're at least both familiar with 12-step groups.
Yeah.
And the first chance anybody has to ever beat an addiction is they must be able to look to a crowd and say, hi, my name is blank, I am an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And once you recognize, hi, my name is Roger, and I have prejudice towards other people. And that's your first chance to give yourself at least a fighting opportunity to overcome it and recognize when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I can think of is I had a Corvette back in, because it was in 98. I had a Corvette that literally caught fire with me inside of it in a pouring down rainstorm. I barely got to the freeway exit, barely got out of the car alive with the thing almost in bursting flames. And it was pouring down rain. It was in the middle of Oakland. I ran 2 blocks, and I looked like a wet-soaked rat into this liquor store. I didn't have a dime in my pocket. Everything was still in the car. And 2 Middle Eastern guys that I would have been writing jokes about treated me like I was a Here, have a cup of coffee. Use our phone blanket. Don't worry, my friend. You can always buy another car. You're here. It's life. And I felt like a piece of shit because of the way I often speak about that culture.
Wow.
So, we all have to keep our minds open and recognize, I've got this in me.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to need someone of another culture. You never know when you're going to need anyone else.
You never know when you're going to need to have a better opinion of yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Well, that's it, Roger Rod. I appreciate you coming in, and people can find you if they want to support the tour, Blue Lives Matter.
Blue Lives Matter Comedy Tour.
Blue Lives Matter Comedy Tour.
Yes, and that's .com. And at Roger Rod on Twitter and on Instagram and Facebook, same thing. And
ROGERRODD.
ROGERRODD, all one word.
Yeah. So you guys check him out. The oldest wigger in the game here with us today, and one of my favorite comedians to watch, man. Dude, I appreciate what you do, man, as I really do feel like, you're helping people realize that that we can learn, man,
Well, as much as I appreciate you for having me on the show, you're a very accomplished, certainly a lot further along in this game than I am. And for you to have brought me on board is a big honor. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope I'm able to sit there one day and be able to rehash so many good stories and have such a good attitude about my career and just about myself and about what's going on, and to be able to inspire other people to, to think. They don't have to think differently, but at least inspire them to start by thinking,
I think you do that already.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, we'll be right back. We're gonna get some. Of you guys' questions. We got some great ones on this Mother's Day episode this past weekend. All right, let's get to some callers, guys. I'm so thankful for the calls. Just the questions. I'm gonna try to do another episode this week for Wednesday or Thursday. It's just a lot, but I'm gonna try. And it's just a lot because, I got to pay somebody to edit it, and I got to just to piece it together. There's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. Got to rent studio if I need the studio. So there's just a lot of little things that go into it, but I'm overwhelmed with the amount of calls and questions and inquiries I just want to say you're welcome. A lot of people have said thank you. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I feel like I'm kind of a conduit of just trying to make an effort, I think a lot of my life I feel like I don't know if I felt like I haven't been a good person, but I feel like I've just thought about myself. And, I don't want to be that way always. Sometimes selfishness is it's a disease a little bit, because sometimes you're selfish. I think I was selfish growing up because I was just worried that if I didn't think about myself, that nobody was going to be. And I may have said this before, but it's just kind of resonating with me right now. Like, I think I was selfish because I was worried. I was afraid, like if I don't think about me, then nobody is going to be thinking about me in the world. And when you're a kid, that's the scariest thing in the world. To think that no one's going to be thinking about you. That just, I don't know anything more hurtful to a child probably than to feel that no one is going to be thinking about them, that they're unthought of. And so I think I definitely developed some selfishness there as a child. I was just worried that if I wasn't thinking about me, that no one was. And then you get addicted to that. You just get used to it. It becomes a habit. I have to think about me, as a child. But then as an adult, you're just still stranded with this habit that's not serving you anymore. And to get out of that, I have to do things for other people. And I'm still learning that. And I got to try harder. But it is nice to know that some of you guys think that this podcast is helping to do that, because it makes me feel a little less selfish, or it makes me feel like I'm battling that leftover bad habit of just being self-serving. And especially I live in a self-serving city. I have a self-serving job. I feel like people say my job brings laughter to people, but it's hard not to feel like that it's just for me sometimes, or I don't know. But I love you and I appreciate the calls, and I'm grateful, man. There's so many nice messages and stuff. I wish I could play every one for you, and I'm gonna try to slowly incorporate them. I save them all, so when they'll fit in, they'll fit in. But let's get to some calls. We do have some female listeners out there, and they're growing. Our female listener population is growing, and I'm excited about that. And we had some callers call in about the first time they touched a little bit of crotch. And when you touch crotch as a child, it's like, it's just like somebody you ever have like a friend, you ever see those mitten packets that keep your hands warm? It's like a special packet that you buy that you put into a mitten, or if you have a bag or something, you want to put your hands in a bag, but it's cold in the bag. They got these little heat warmer packets that you can break kind of, or bend, and it cracks something inside of them, and it makes heat, free heat, small amount of heat. And people put those in their mittens or their socks or whatever, and those things warm. It's this intense warm. It's almost like this atomic little slice of rock. Well, that's what it's like for a boy. I felt like the first time you get near that crotch area on a female, the first time you get your hand up near that little female water spout, you just, that flat water spout, really, I should say, you're fired up. Because that's just, it's the first time, you came out of a vagina as a child, and then as a teenager, or whenever you get to touch some crotch, it's the first time you get back there. So you've really just been wandering around for a long time away from your shuttle bus, the shuttle bus that brought you into existence, the female crotch. And this is almost oddly kind of fitting for Mother's Day, because we all came out of a mother, most of us anyway, unless somebody made you somewhere. But let's get to the call right now. We got Robin in Atlanta calling us, and you are on the line, Robin.
Ooh, I'm nervous. Theo Von. My name's Robin. I'm from Atlanta.
Ooh, she got a nice voice, huh? You like that? They used to have these phone sex lines. They might have them where you could call up at night and spend a bunch of your parents' money and listen to people talk about dirtiness on the air. And does she have a nice voice like those ladies? Orator. Onward.
And I want to comment on about everything that you say, but I wanted to comment specifically about the crotch touching. My first experience with having my crotch touched was...
Is this not exciting to everybody all of a sudden? I'm just like, wow, this is exciting, dude, because I want to know what girls thinking. Onward.
Touched was in the 6th grade.
Ooh, naughty Robin Young. Okay, sorry for interrupting a bunch. Let's go on.
In the 6th grade, in my parents' backyard, in a refrigerator box with my boyfriend.
Wow, refrigerator box. Well, this is already awesome. Let me just say this is already awesome. I will never, next time I see some kids making a space shuttle out of one of those boxes, I'll never second guess that maybe they're up to more than that. That's for sure. Onward.
And I wasn't concerned about it being bad or nasty. It seemed pretty natural. But I was concerned because I knew his hands were dirty and that they might be salty and that...
Salty hands? Yeah, that's a concern. It is a concern. It's your concern, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. This is an intimate story. But yeah, I guess you could worry if they got salt, something gets up there. You don't want a bunch of, you don't want things to start to purl inside of your vagina, and I don't know if that can occur or not. But yeah, I guess if you get a little bit of salt in there, it could start to purl up over by the time you're about, you know, I mean, that's probably about 12th grade. I think it takes about 6 years for something to paralyze. Anyway, onward.
That concerned me a little bit, but it didn't end up stinging or anything. It did make me feel funny for about a week. You know, just funny mentally. I felt like I had crossed some threshold. And there's a question for you. What's the definition of fingering?
Huh. Wow. So, well, first of all, it made her feel funny for like a week, she said. That's interesting. I do remember feeling like I'd crossed some sort of threshold because you don't have, all you have is a million mental images and ideas and GIFs, I guess, or GIFs, those little like video images that they have now. But back in the time, we used to call them memories. It was like or ideas. It was like a quick idea you had in your head of something. And those are kind of like the GIFs that we have now, I feel like. You know, you'd have like this quick idea of maybe what a crotch was like or what, you know, but the fact that it was salty but then once you found out what a crotch was like, I lost my train of thought. Once you found out what a crotch was like, you knew. You had this knowledge then. You had this, you know, you'd opened up this universe, you know, it's like you'd gotten like a special warp zone or a special sword on Zelda or something. Anyway, let's go back to Robin's call. Thank you for the call, Robin.
Fingering. Is fingering when you put your finger in the vagina, is that technically the definition? Is that also third base? Or is fingering just touching and feeling around on the vagina?
You know, I think fingering is yes, you got to go fingers in. You know, you got to be checking levels there. You got to be Mark Twaining. For anybody that knows anything about sea depth or river depth, you got to be, you know, you got to be really digiting, getting a little bit of a stenographer's practice, if you will. Yeah, I think it's got to be fingers in. And does it have to be one finger or two fingers? I guess it just has to be one. You know, two fingers is always crazy too. Like, I remember there were times, you know, personally, I'd put two fingers in a woman's vagina and be like, is this okay or am I being crazy? Like, am I a crazy guy? You know, but I do remember, Robin, that was a thing for guys. It was like, how many fingers, bro? It was like if you touch, it wasn't enough then that you had touched a vagina or that you had put a finger into a local vagina. It was that you then had to do more fingers. It was, oh, well, what about, she could take 3 fingers. Like, it became this weird, you know, other thing, this bigger thing then. It was just, it's like everything. It's like once it happens, something happens, more has to happen. You know, you need a bigger fix. But I feel like, yeah, that's third base was fingering. And then as you grow more adult, you realize that there's more action there's more action for the female outside of the vagina. You know, inside, you're basically just looking for something that's outside. You know, it's like whenever you bring your keys out to the car and you leave, and you have them in there, but you don't realize you have them in there and you think you left them inside, then you go back inside looking for your keys. It's just like that. It's like you go back and it's like you're inside a woman feeling around trying to get her that pleasure, but really the pleasure's already outside. You passed the pleasure. You had the pleasure. You just didn't realize you had it. So that's either a great analogy or a horrible analogy. I can't even tell. It's 1:30 in the morning. But let's listen to the rest of Robin's question or call.
And is that considered third base? What's your opinion about it? Love your show. I don't think you need any guests. I really like to listen to you ramble on whatever state you're in. You are a great philosopher, and you know, dude, sometimes really funny people are just dark.
I hope she doesn't mean black. She could be a Mike Epps fan. I am a Mike Epps fan. I will say that. I appreciate the nice words, Robin. You know, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate you saying I'm really funny. I appreciate all the nice things you said. I appreciate your call. It was a cool call. Very real. You know, you shared some real thoughts there. Yeah, I don't know if comedians are just dark. People ask me that a lot. Are you just dark? I don't know. I don't know if comedians are that way, but I do know that I have some type of affliction in me where I get depressed, you know, and I battle it much better these days. You know, like this week I did make some choices. I went out. I didn't want to go to yoga, and I went. And I didn't want to go to the gym, and I went. And it made me feel better. Whereas there were times before, I'd be like, I'm just going to lay down. I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to sleep it off. And maybe I would take some naps, but I would just set my alarm, and I'd get back up, and I made some better choices. And it was hard. It was hard. There were times where I did not want to make that choice. But yeah, I think back to your question, Robin, or back to your inquiry, it's third base. That's touch and crotch. But the weird thing is for guys, it's just the third base only goes one way. It's not like it doesn't matter what the girl does to you. You know, the third base just only goes one way. And I remember, and I'll tell you, the first time that I touched a gal's crotch, my buddy and I had a sleepover over here out in north, like Franklinton, Louisiana. I mean, small town. I don't even know where it was. It's really just a bunch of people that are lost, and there's so many of them that they called it a town. Like, it's that rural. And we were out there on a double date, and some gal had a trailer out there, and her mother or stepmother, I don't know if she had a mother or father, but she might have had a stepmother, was out of town. Somebody was out of town. And we were over there, and everybody was touching crotch, you know? And the girl I was with, though, was doing, she had menstrual activities going on, so I couldn't be a part of it. I could just be the outside, just around her legs and crotch, just touching that heat. But even that was huge, just even feeling on that area of a body and realizing that there was no cock right there, you know? Because I was just used to my own area, where if I put my hands between my legs, cock. I find cock right there. But if it's a girl, no cock. And that alone was a big enough change. I mean, I was just erect as a just as a bird beak. I was hard as a damn cement bird beak. And that was exciting. I remember that. And then I remember we went to a dance. I think I've told this story before, and this is a little profane, but I'm going to be real. Robin called in, and she was real. And we'd had a school dance, and a buddy of mine had touched some crotch. He'd finally, gotten a third base. He was damn Ricky Henderson that night. And he slid in a third base, and the gal left, and we were all fired up, and because one of us had finally gotten, he was damn Neil Armstrong to us. One of us had finally gotten to the moon, And so he's got his, he's out there, he's got his fingers out, and my buddy's dad came out. We're sitting around the fire, and me, being an instigator, I told my buddy's dad what had happened. I just wanted everybody to be a part of what was going on. And my buddy's dad started smelling my buddy's fingers. We're in 7th or 8th grade, no older. And my buddy's dad just started smelling my buddy's fingers over and over again. And that was pretty baffling. And he really kind of smelled them all up. Like, I remember at a certain point later, we tried to smell them, and there was no smell left on them. And I know that's dirty, and I know that's profane, but we are, we're animals in a lot of ways. We are fancy, fancy animals. And I don't really believe that, I don't think. But I do believe that, we have some of the same likenesses as animals. And so that's why we wanted to smell. It's just one of the things. You want to get that scent. You want to know what's going on. You're so curious. You're so curious. But then later, I remember sleeping at my buddy's house, and I looked out the window, and his dad was out there still by that fire, and his dad was masturbating out into that fire. So that was pretty intense. But onward, let's take another call here. And we got another call. This man calling in with some crotch from Texas.
Hey, Theo, it's Michael from Patterson, California. If you don't know where that is, it's centrally located.
Okay, not Texas. Onward.
In the state, but anyway, I was calling in to tell you about my first time I touched a lady part. I was 18. I guess that's a late bloomer, you could say, but
I don't know if it's a late bloomer I don't know if it's a late bloomer, It isn't. It's when you bloom, brother, I'm still late blooming on stuff. I can barely use a calculator, so onward.
Anyway, it was this girl I knew from high school. She was a year younger than me. And we went to a party one night, not together. She was there. And, well...
Dude, I miss high school parties, dude. Dude, if I could go back to high school now, and obviously not be an adult because I don't want to be some kind of pedophile, but be like a high school kid, it was so easy to hook up with chicks. You just had no idea. That was the problem. You had no idea. You just couldn't see that the look in most girls' eyes was that they were curious. We were just so scared as young boys, I felt like. Anyway, onward.
Long story short, I left the party a little early. Well, after dropping my buddy off, I was on my way back to my parents' house, almost there, and I get a text message, and she says, "Why'd you leave so early? I was looking forward to hanging out with you." Well, I don't really remember. This was over 10 years ago, so I don't really remember what we said, but she...
So she wanted you to come back to the party? Okay, onward.
Parked out by the road. This was out in the country, out in the boonies, and she met me out by the road, and well, one thing led to another. I popped down the tailgate to my 94 Chevy Silverado.
Oh, God, this is beautiful, dude. Onward.
Put her on the back and started making out. And I went for it.
I can't get too fired up because they're only 18. I guess they're legal. I can listen. Go on.
Without getting too graphic, I mean, I unbuttoned her pants, zipped them down, didn't take her pants all the way off.
Yeah, you don't take her pants all the way off if you're going to finger her, bro, because that's creepy as fuck, dude. Okay? If you're the kind, that's like the dude who pulls his pants all the way down in the bathroom to urinate. You ever seen that boy when you were growing up? They had always some creepy fucking pale-ass kid or some big black kid would have their pants all the way down to their feet, and they're just peeing? What the fuck? Anyway, let's hear more.
But I put my hand down there and slipped a finger in her, and the first thing...
Ooh, slipped a finger in her. You heard him? Ooh, ooh. Onward.
The first time slipping a finger in a girl, first thing I thought was, God damn, this is the wettest thing. I wasn't expecting it to be so wet. I mean, it was like a slip and slide. I couldn't believe how wet it was. I mean, that was the only thing that was going through my mind the whole time.
Damn, bro. I'm just... Wow, you must have grown up in a really dry county then. Or anyway, onward, dude. That humidity, bruh. Ah!
But anyway, so
I'm gonna say it was damp, bro. I remember being like, whoa, this thing has had its thirst quenched. I do remember that, just being shocked, like, what is going on? They're hiding water around here, Yeah, I do remember that, dude. I do remember that. And you still catch it occasionally with some older gals, but some of them now, it's like, some of it's like kind of shuffling a little bit of a deck of cards there on the outside. It can get a little, what do I want to say? It can get a little, velvety on the outside. Anyway, onward.
I mean, the first time you did it, were you surprised about how wet it was? I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. But
damn, unbelievable. You know what? I think I was, man. I think I was, I think I was just... I remember just being so erect, I thought I was going to faint. Like, so much... Because I have, like, a wide penis, and so much blood ran to my penis that I always get a little bit faint whenever I get really erect. So that's, like, an issue that I've had. Kind of like one of those, you ever see those goats that get that faint when they get scared? Kind of like that. I feel like I'm kind of like that sometimes with sex. Onward.
But anyway, that ended up leading to my first blowjob. Same gal, but that's a different story for another time. But anyway, and one last thing, one thing I didn't like heading back home was, some people call it stink finger. My fingers didn't really smell. And I was kind of bummed out. That was the only thing I was bummed out about. They didn't smell. And to be honest, I wanted to smell my fingers and go home and jerk off. But
damn, bro. You know what? I got to say this, man. Thank you for calling. Because you know what? People could say, oh, that's gross, that's nasty. You could say anything you want about this fella's call right here. But the truth is that this is what a lot of guys thought. These are thoughts that a lot of guys have. And Robin's call was unique because it was something that girls have. It's that side of the story from them. I don't get that side of the story. I don't know. Fascinated by both of these calls. Fascinated by the nostalgia of this second call. And let me get his name again right here so I don't forget.
Hey, Theo, it's Michael from Patterson, California.
Michael. Yeah, Michael. Just fascinating because, you gotta, I think that's called like a golden warlord or something if you don't get a scent on your finger from a woman or a woman that doesn't have a scent in her crotch. It's called like a golden warlord or like I don't know what it's called. Just like a damn, it's definitely, that's more bottled water than, sometimes you get the gals a little tap, you get more tap water out of them. But that's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful story, and it just, I just love the fact that you pulled her pants down, dude. That's fucking what? Crazy, bro. Love it. Michael, you're my hero this week, dude. You just reminded me of what, of a time in my life, of being just around that cooter and just being unaware of what another person's crotch was like, and just having just uncertainty and just that magic that was out in the universe. And that's one thing that happens as we get older. Like, we forget that we get used to things, It's crazy. When you think about how insane you were about touching a crotch of somebody else, and then how now that's not, it's still an issue, but it's not as much as it used to be. Baffling amount of difference. Thank you so much for that call, man, just to take me down memory lane. I can't even remember if you had a question for me. I don't even know if that was in there. I'll listen back later if so and get back to you, but just fascinating, man. Just fascinating to go back to those days and just that heat. It was like just that body heat coming off just that area of a woman was just fascinating. And I remember one time getting down there and I couldn't tell what was going on. I thought this one girl didn't even have a vagina. I thought she just had a bunch of crazy, skin activity. God, I remember that. Just like, what? What is going on? Where is this? Very scary and very exciting. Very fun being young, man. Let's take one more call, man. We're going to switch gears here. And this one is from Walnut Creek, California. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles, and I was just kind of wondering on how you stay sober.
And man, actually, I know I have some other calls I want to get to more, but I'll try to do some this week. I had a call coming in about sobriety that I do want to answer. But this is already going to be a long episode. And so I just want to take a moment just to say thank you guys so much for being a part of the show, for calling in. We'll field whatever calls this week. I might put into the Thursday episode some ideas for for coming up for other calls we can get. I already have people that have left some voicemails about the future and questions, and eventually we'll get it to call in where people can call in and we can talk live, even though I don't even know if I could have dealt live today with these calls today about the crotches. Very fascinating, man. Very fascinating. And I just want to thank you guys so much, man. I love you and I appreciate you. And yeah, and I got some really nice calls and voicemails, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm going to get to some of these questions. This one kid called about some sobriety stuff, and I really want to get to it, and I will. I will get to it, so hold on, buddy. I promise that I'll get to it and get it out this week, because I want to share with you whatever I can, Fuck, do I need to get to it right now? Let me get to it right now, because I'm going to feel bad if I don't, if I let this go. Let's get it. This is, this call, I mean, it's changing the scope. We've had it's been, whatever. Let's get to it. Here we go. This is from Walnut Creek, California.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles, and I was just kind of wondering on how you stay sober, because I've been taking some pills here and there, and it's really fun, but it's I feel like it's just sort of time to quit. So I was just sort of wondering advice on how to deal, I guess, with being sober, because to be honest, it's really boring. Oh my God, spending whole days. The day seems like 2 days in one now that I've been sober for a week. And I was just wondering.
That's funny, man. He said being sober is boring. It's hilarious. I mean, it's sad. That's sad and perfect and everything. Because it is kind of boring, man. It's boring until you're able to start dealing with some of your feelings and what's going on and whatever made you start to, overtreat yourself with medication. Then it gets interesting, dude. It gets interesting, man. When feelings start coming back and you start having feelings, man, like when I'm talking about my mom earlier and I get teared up, that didn't used to happen to me, man. I wasn't able to access those feelings, dude. When I see one of my friends posted a picture of her and her baby. She has a new baby. And I remember a couple years ago, telling her I almost was gonna we were almost deciding that we were gonna have a baby together, even though we weren't in love or anything. We just were maybe gonna have a baby just because she's getting a little older, and we've always been friends, and we both wanted. I thought she'd make a great mother because she's always been a great friend. And she has a baby now, dude. And I saw a picture of her, her first Mother's Day or something today. Shit teared me up, dude. So you'll have real feelings, man. That's one thing. That can be exciting, bro. I know it sounds crazy and probably gay but it's exciting, bro. But what was your question? How do I stay sober?
I was just wondering, I guess, how you deal with it. And I don't know if you've ever, taken pills or anything like that. But, I was just wondering your advice. I like the show, and I actually just got your album, so keep it up, man.
Wow, man, thank you for the support. Let me catch your name again. I'm sorry.
Hey, what's up, Theo? My name's Miles.
Miles. Thanks for the support, Miles. I do appreciate it. How do I stay sober, dude? Well, I just decided that I'm not going to drink or use, and I didn't decide that I'm going to do it for the rest of my life, because that's a huge undertaking, and I can't do anything for the rest of my life. I can't. First of all, I don't know what the rest of my life's going to be, but I know that I cannot drink or use for today. I know that. And look, a lot of you guys out there are like, well, dude, I drink, I use, that's fine. I have no issue. If you can drink and you can party and you can have a good time and you can live your life and your life's fun and comfortable, that's great. I might be able to do that one day. I don't know. But I do know that for right now, I'm not in that position. So how do I stay sober, man? I listen to people that are more sober than I am. And I try and figure out what my feelings are, because I didn't want to have any feelings. And I'm sure that's why you take pills, dude. Pills, bro. I remember one time I took a pill. Next thing I knew, it was Thursday, bro. And I think when I started, it was Friday. So it was a long pill, dude. Yeah, I remember one time some dude gave me some somas. This fellow that was homosexual, and he ended up dying. He drove a Chevy Cavalier into a cement embankment. And he was a boxer. He was a homosexual prize fighter. But he might have even tried to blow me one time when I was on somas. I don't even remember. So, Are pills fun? I don't know. I mean, it was definitely fun not having any feelings and like just spitting up on my shirt all night. It was kind of cool. It was like being in the hospital, but I was just in the back of a Chevrolet Blazer. But overall, long term, is it fun? You know, I just don't think it's good. Because I just would love for you to take a chance and see what you're really like if you don't use pills. You know, just take a chance. Look, dude, if you don't like who you are when you don't use pills, go back to them, bro. But at least give yourself a shot to see who you are. You're out here. You know, if you got issues, man, look, clean them up. You'll be able to clean them up when you're sober. I promise you. It's going to take some time. It's going to be a pain in the ass. You have to sit and think and write and listen to other people. Probably going to have to cry and listen to some fucking dudes talk in group settings and stuff where you're like, dude, shut the fuck up. But you'll get better. It gets better. I promise you that. And it's fascinating. And it's the ballsiest thing you could do. You want to take a pill? Take a pill of fucking sobriety, bro. Take a pill of, you know what? Whatever life throws at me today, I'm going to look it in the fucking face. You know? Take that pill. That's a pill, bro. You want a pill? You want to ride? You want to ride? Try feeling everything. Try having conversations with people when shit's uncomfortable and you can't resort to anything else. And you have to just tell them how you really feel. Try that. That's a pill, bro. That's a pill, man. But I'm here for you, Miles. If you need me, you can leave another voicemail, a private one on here that I won't use on the episode. And but I don't know how I stay sober, man. You know, I invite a higher power into my life, even though I struggle with that every day. And I don't try to stay sober forever. I'm just trying to stay sober for tomorrow, you know. But it's amazing. I started this podcast in sobriety. Dude, if I was still partying, I don't think I would have been able to do it. I don't know, but I don't think so. And I also don't want to pigeonhole myself, and I don't want to tell you that you need it forever. I don't want to tell you any of those things. I don't want to tell you that AA is a be-all, cure-all, end-all. Because if I'm not sober forever, then people are going to be like, well, it didn't work for him. I don't want to tell you any of that, man. I just want to tell you that I think it's worth a try, you know? And I think it's worth the same amount of effort you put into getting pills or using pills. Just at least give it that same amount of effort. See how it works, you know? It might work well. But I love you, Miles, man. And you know, it sounds like you want to at least try to get, I don't know, better, but you want to try to get different. So just try to get different, man. See how different works. Thank you for calling, bro. I really do appreciate it. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, man. I'm going to take us out of here, man. It's getting late. God, it's so late. This is going to be up late, guys. It's going to be up late because it's already 2 a.m. here. It's 5 a.m. East Coast. It's not going to be there for people on their drive to work. So I'm sorry about that. It's going to take a couple hours to edit. All right, man. But I'm going to take you out here, man. It's been a beautiful time chatting. I hope so. Thank you to our callers. Hit the hotline. You know what it is. Check out my tour dates at theovon.com/tour. And just tell somebody you love them today. Call your mother again today and tell her that you love her. How about that, huh? How about just calling your mother again today and just letting her know you love her? Just let her, hey, Mom, I love you just as much today. I just want to let you know that. I know Mother's Day was yesterday, but there's going to come a day when I might not be able to tell you how much I love you. So today's not that day, and today I'm going to let you know how much I care. Man, we get so caught up, dude. Man, we get so caught up talking to other people. It's hard. It's hard sometimes to listen to our mothers, but I don't know, man. I don't know. And maybe some of you guys don't have the best relationship with your mother, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad or, but I don't either. Sometimes it's hard when my mother says stuff, I don't feel it. But Well, to keep trying, man. You know, we keep trying. So that's all we can do. Just keep trying, man, and love yourself today. You know, and if you don't have a mother, bro, I'll put on a wig and I'll hug you, dude. How about that, dude? We just got to keep it all about, you know, first base only, and that's only on the cheek, you know? That's my motherhood for you. But thank you guys for listening to this past week, and I'll see you guys next time. Be good to yourselves, man. You probably deserve it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.